I would just like to very briefly introduce you to our audience. I suppose most of them know you, but mentioning that you work mainly as a designer, but as we will speak about, also, I would say, taking a new direction with the current exhibition into the world of arts. You studied at Design Academy Eindhoven. Before that, you made an apprenticeship as a carpenter. You run your studio, Jongeriuslab, since the early 1990s, and you work with a lot of companies. I hope we can also speak about some of these projects later. So I think you're a designer that really stands for deep research into the fields of color, of crafts, of weaving, of textiles. You have this current new exhibition at the Gropius Bau in Berlin, where you also live. The exhibition is called Cosmos Weaving, and we had a look at this together yesterday. I suppose many of the people who are joining us now have not yet been able to see the exhibition. I hope they will be able in the next weeks. Hella, could you explain, to start with, just what are you showing in the exhibition? What can people expect there?
Yeah, it is an exhibition on weaving, but as a general topic. So I like to address the cultural meaning of weaving and the spiritual aspect of weaving and the future of weaving, and and why weaving, because I think it is very relevant. It's always important if I take a topic or if I start a research, that it has a relevance, that it says something about the time. And weaving and textile has this very poison craft. It has a rich craft, but it is also very poisoning as an industry. And so we need to address this, like what's happening with fast fashion. And so that's why I wanted to put a spot on the weaving and show all the different layers that are within this topic. So crafts, the ancient world, the social gatherness of weaving. So before the Industrial Revolution, we worked all together in the textile industry. So, and then the future of craft, 3D weaving, building my own looms, but also talk about the cosmos as a whole, because I think in general, my meta topic is working on or designing the relation between an object and human being. And so the relation that we have with our cosmos is in a way the largest element where you could relate to. So relating to objects and relating to the cosmos. So that's a kind of holistic approach. And so there are 7 different rooms, and in each room I built another way or another layer of weaving. And there are also activities during the exhibition, so it will also continue. So my team is working there every day. Visitors can join. You can spin a yarn. We can dance a yarn. So there is a lot of activity. It's not a fixed exhibition.
So I would say it's like a collage of different approaches to weaving. No? In one space you have actually a loom consisting of 4 different looms, quite a spectacular objects, but it also works. So it's used in the exhibition. In another section, you created weaving structures yourself, which I would say are more presented like works of art that's really classically put on a wall, but with different layers of weaving. So it's also, I think, showing your different approaches to this. No, it's engineering on the one hand. It's technically super complex sometimes, but on the other hand, it can also be very archaic and related to philosophical and ethical questions. So why do you think is weaving this metaphor for let's say, networks or social relations or cosmos, as you put it. What do you think where that comes from culturally?
It is one of the first crafts in the world, and clothing is one of the first topics or items that we used or that we created ourselves as a human being. So a loom is always also the first machine in Industrial Revolution. It's the first computer, a loom, because it is weaving is about zeros and ones. So it's a very abstract way of working. It's a system in itself. So it has all these angles, and it is the first. So the Industrial Revolution started in the textile industry. So our language is filled with expressions that come from the textile realm. So it is multi. Yeah, it's really it's carrying a lot of information and history and social and political. It is an important topic now, and for the future, I think it is the lightest and strongest construct. So that's why I think it is a very interesting topic to address for what can we do with weaving and with this construction 1/1 for the future. So, and it has, of course, also this whole decoration, this part of decoration that we know of all the symbols and all the patterns that we know from all different cultures. So it is really, it has so many layers, and that's why it's very interesting to show this technique, but not as a technique, but as a whole.
You also show in the exhibition some 3D woven structures, which are moving. So the idea is that they move with solar panels, and well, there has been a lot of discussion about this so-called wearables. And what future applications do you see? Do you think textiles can really become a material, maybe in architecture, or materials gathering energy? Where does the industry go in weaving?
I think in architecture, so I use solar yarns. So it can it can gain energy, but it is already used, of course, in the building of aeroplanes as woven carbon, or in race cars. So it is already used, but to use it in 3D weaving, so I think that has a future in, as you said, like in architecture, where cement and beton is it also needs to be replaced in the near future. So that could be there a topic, but also all this solar farms, which is just flat techniques, flat surfaces in a field. We can make this more interesting to use sculptures, or to give it another tactility. And also on our houses, all this roof with this flat black slab on it, we really can use it, this 3D weaving, as to move the technique forward, in the sense not only as a technique but also as an aesthetic, give it an aesthetic value. But the strongness so you don't need a lot of material, and it's still very strong. So that's why I find it interesting, and this unfolding and that's really an interesting topic, and a lot of universities are also working with it. Also, what also could be very interesting, what I also like very much, is that sewing in the fashion industry is still being done by somebody with a sewing machine doing this work. And if you don't need to sew anymore, if you can 3D weave your jeans or whatever, this will also yeah, will influence the way we the terrible situation people are laboring in Asia or in other countries. So it could also have a future for fashion industry. So I see many possibilities.
So there's this really technical aspect to the exhibition. On the other hand, you told me that the exhibition is also about you called it the healing power of objects, right? And about you also explained that you brought someone, a shamane, to the Gropius Bau to really, let's say, examine the spaces in which you will work. What was your take on that in the exhibition?
Well, you know, the title, Cosmic Woven Cosmos, was very early in the process, and then on a certain moment I thought, yeah, if I don't ask the cosmos, besides all the other data that I'm using from history or Google or whatever, I also would like to have data from the spirits. You know, what do they have a message for me, or what can I? Is it vital here? Is this building vital? What does people need? What does the building need? What does material need? So I asked for a shaman from Berlin for a night, and we did a seance in the building, and we asked the spirits, like, what do they need and how vital is the building, and so they came with some data that I find very interesting. So I used it for the Cosmic Loom. So we're spinning every day a yarn for the Cosmic Loom as a metaphor to create a new texture for the world, or to create a new texture for the world. I think we can change fate by spinning a new warp for the texture of the world. So and therefore I received some information from the spirits. So the Thursdays and the Saturdays are important the coming months. So we did some special yarns for the Thursdays and the Saturdays, because it's a week calendar that we follow. And also for the space amuletten, I also used information from the spirits. So this whole healing aspect is a very interesting topic for me, and also a new topic, because I think we have a very toxic relationship with our materials and with our objects and with the planet in a way. So that's something that I wanted to investigate in and research upon, in a way, like if you think of imperfection, what I did 30 years ago for as a topic in industry, to find the human way, although it is done in series, in a way that was also healing for industry. So it is longer with me, and but this time I thought, I find it an interesting topic. What is this relation, and what can be healed? Who is sick? That's the first question. Who is sick? And so I don't have like many answers, but it still fascinates me a lot. This whole dynamics in the relationships that we have with an object, that we can feel like very relieved if we get rid of a certain object. So they really are our silent partners, and the touching and the making of an object is very healing. Weaving is healing as a method, because it's a very repetitive way of working, and you work often also with a few people together. So this idea of healing and understanding an object in other levels than the functionality and the aesthetics interests me a lot. And also, you know, like some objects are very sticky. The stickiness of objects. So why is one stickier than another?
What do you mean by sticky?
stickiness, that the object talks more, or you have a better relation with one object than the other, and it's because it is a gift, or it's longer with you, or you take care of it, or you repaired it, or it has the right weight, or it has a tactility. What are those layers within this object? And that's something I find interesting. And that's a topic that is much longer with me. So this relationship that we have with our objects, and yeah, so yeah, that's to be seen.
You once said, I remember in the manifesto you published a few years ago, you said design is for you. It's not about the object. It's really about the relationship, no? that you create.
Yeah.
On the other hand, what you are now explaining about spirituality and the healing power, to me is a whole way of thinking which sounds very far from the world of design as we know it. It's from the past. Do you think you have to leave the realm of design a little bit and move into the world, let's say, of arts, of artistic practice, to be able to address this? Because I think you never made an exhibition that is, let's say, so much, I would say, an art exhibition and less a design exhibition. Is this necessary to really enter these new thoughts?
I don't know. It is. It's not. It's not a result of something. I think I'm much longer working as an so I'm working in design, but my methods are like how an artist works. So I'm questioning the situation and questioning my profession and try to push boundaries. So I'm always working as an author and I have a critical position. So being an artist is much longer. In a way, I was always an artist working in the design field, let's say it that way, because I thought in the design world I can address something or I can push boundaries and have a larger voice. Because when you change something within the system, the noise is, you can change something larger than if you just do something in one object. So that's why I have chosen to work in industry. And the last year, so after 2015, when I did the manifesto with Louise Schouwenberg, we started first with thinking about design research beyond appearances. That was the first exhibition that we did on this topic. And then color was a research topic that I started at Vitra, and it turned out to be a larger topic than just serve a collection. So this was also a research topic, and then 2 years ago I started to work for. I did a show also on 3D weaving, starting to build my own looms because I couldn't find looms in the industry that could. Where I could be creative, so vehicles that really can raise questions instead of giving answers and being so efficient. So that was why I wanted to build these looms. And so it is the last years I'm coming in this with the same question. It feels like I have the same questions and I'm the same person, but I land more in the world of art with the same questions. I receive other answers, and these answers are now very interesting for me. And let's say this whole topic on, like 2 years ago, I did this idea on building my own looms. What is also not, you could say it's in the design realm, but it's also an art approach to start to build your own system or your own way of producing. So. And now it is spirituality or healing. I must say it's not spirituality, it's healing. It's really that's the main topic. That's the interesting topic for me. But also the future of weaving. So it's not only the healing. So it's only from the 7 rooms, 1 room. But it's not necessary to be in the art. That's not the case. It's fluid and. But it is true that I could never have research upon this topic when I have to connect to a market, because it's not commercial. It's not, you cannot sell it. But on the other hand, someday this thoughts or this research will land somewhere. So and then I'm maybe back in the world of design, and who cares? You know, it's also
yeah. It's a nice image that the thoughts will land somewhere and bring you to another project in design.
Yeah, and this is maybe still very abstract, but like the 3D weaving, that will land very soon. So that's, you know, this is this technical aspect of the future of weaving. This will land very soon. So in that sense, I'm flying and I'm landing, and that's what I find interesting.
Hella, let's maybe go a little bit back into your evolution as a designer, because you made such a huge body of work since the 1990s. It's really, we can only pick out a few aspects of it. You, even before you went to Eindhoven, you made an apprenticeship in woodworking. What was your interest in the material of wood? I think it has lost a little bit of importance in your work, but it appears from time to time. In the exhibition, there's this impressive frog table.
Yeah.
How did your interest in wood come about?
Well, I don't think it was wood that really attracted me, but
the craft.
The craft. It was the making. Yeah, it was the making, and also to get skills, and to get skills on a certain material that helped me a lot. Also in being later on an industrial designer, how things are being made, that helps you to think in an industrial way. And wood was the first what came on my way. So it could also be whatever what. So it was not particularly wood. It was the making that interested me. Yeah.
But then, you went to Eindhoven, and it was also the time of droog design emerging. And very soon you moved from this traditional material of wood to really trying out other materials, no? Like the first rubber objects, the rubber wash tub, and so on. So what? You were part of droog, so I think you were not influenced. You shaped it. So. What was the idea of droog in the early 90s? What was new about this?
I think it was new to be together a collective. So that it was a movement against the style or on just only showing a shape or new, the old idea of making nice stuff, making nice objects, perfect, and a lot of materials, high-end materials, what was called design. So it had this very narrow-minded idea, and Memphis was before us, that shaked a bit the system or shaked the profession. And after 20 years, droog design came and shaked it in another way. So more conceptual way of looking at objects and not only about shape and form. That was, I think, the approach of droog design. Yeah.
Was it also about maybe telling stories or bringing things together which have not been together before? I think a lot of droog objects which were like clashes of two types of objects or two materials, and you also, when you made this embroidered porcelain, ceramics, you brought together worlds which have not been together before, no?
Yeah, but it was a search on for me. It's still also a search on how to marriage some thoughts in the making, and also, I don't know, it was a rebellious way of looking at materials and concepts about the use and the perfection. So imperfection was immediately with me at that time. So Yeah.
Yeah. And then
it's so long ago.
Yeah.
I don't.
I know. I couldn't. It's like 20, 30 years ago. But I mean, what still is another very important material for you is ceramics and porcelain, no? That you also have in the exhibition now in Berlin, but also in the 1990s, you work with porcelain in different ways, and I think always in really surprising ways, where you bring in the idea of textile, embroidery, knitting. I think there's a big tradition of ceramics and porcelain also in the Netherlands, no? Did that play a role?
Yeah, Delft's blue. Yeah. Well, you know, we have this center in Holland, European Design Center, Ceramics Work Center, where you can do residence, and it's a lovely place. It's really, it's like being in a candy shop. So I went there really like 4 or 5 times a few months. And I think that provides me the love for ceramics, because you really can research. There's a great team, but also ceramics is also very serious as a material. And in art, it was for a long time also artists also wanted to push against the technique, so try to make even glazes that explode or shapes that are against what the material wants. So the material is quite rigid. It has to burn over 1200 degrees. So it's I find it as a material very rigid, and that's why I'm interested in it too. Yeah. And the industry also is very conservative. Like, you know, the surfaces are very poor. Nobody in that time, nobody I knew had this surface, this beautiful surface with all this painted on it. So it was a kind of it needed some critical note. Yeah.
So on the one hand, I never had the impression you work against the material or the craft.
No.
But on the other hand, you also break it, no? You question it. If you think about the bases that you extend and repair and assemble.
Yeah, and I didn't use the glazing. I just used car spray as a color, you know, and I used half of it in glass and half in ceramic, what was not possible, but I just taped it together. So this kind of pushing the way of looking at ceramics. Yeah.
So again, I think it's probably methods or strategies from an artist. No, it's something maybe a serious designer would not dare to do. But if you have another approach, which is more.
No, but that's true. I think that's true. But on the other hand, the topic imperfection was later on used in industry as a story or as a marketing topic, like authenticity and imperfection, the craft as the new style. That was adopted very soon. So after I did my artistic research, it resonated, this whole craft idea and making unique series. This resonated a lot in the industry, because then all the big ceramic companies came with like a little wobbly kind of plates and so on, and called it imperfection and authentic and whatever. So the idea itself resonated. It was not just like being artistic without. Yeah, the story was or my topic made sense. Yeah.
Did you have to fight for it, or was it immediately understood?
Well, I don't believe in fights. I just do the work, and people will follow or not, you know, and often they follow. So
Sometimes if you work with a manufacturer, you have a partner whom you have to convince or you work with.
Yeah, I have to convince, but it is always it's not against each other. So I also am very interested in the partner and look at their collection and what they want and what they leak, and if they have another opinion, I like to really understand it, and not that I follow without, but I question a lot and invest in a relationship. So I don't believe that fight brings good products. I don't believe that. No, and also you know, but I am also the lucky one that is not working with lucky, and it is a principle that I don't work with companies that I can't relate to. So I need to have the same moral inventory or compass. That's very important for me. Otherwise, I cannot work with somebody. So, and that's difficult. And then you could say, like, I also worked for KLM. That's not a cultural company. But there was a company, because I don't judge them for their outcome. I want to meet the people, and those people, they really were very interesting persons, and they were all new on their job, and they really wanted to change something within the business. So I thought, wow, we could fly together. That would be an interesting group to push some boundaries. And so yeah, this is the way I like to work, and also so people recognize if you come with topics or that is authentic, or not only authentic but also push the right button. Yeah.
And another example of this collaboration, which is also based on trust and a close contact, is the one with Vitra, no? Where you have been the director of colors and materials, but you also designed furniture for Vitra even before. So there you have both, let's say, strategic role in the field of color and materials, but also as an author. Let's maybe first speak about the strategic role. What are you actually doing? Are you still defining material groups, color palettes? Would you say this is also kind of trying to forecast what comes next, or trying to understand how the industry develops? What is meant by this role that you have there?
I don't have the role anymore, so no.
Yeah, but you had it for
I had it for a long time, for 10 years. So. Yeah. So I never wanted to do the forecasting. So I always told Rolf Velbaum, I want to do it as an author, as a designer, so not as a stylist. I'm interested in the colors and in your archive and in the designers and in the world of the designers. So I really connected to the times where the designs are being made. So in the designers like Eames and Prouvé and so on, the ones that are dead, and the contemporary designers, and find color groups, color worlds for each one, and build a library for the company. And that's what I have been doing for years, and also building a textile collection, and make and design also the textiles, especially for the furniture. So that's what I have been doing, and yeah.
I mean, there is a huge. You said you don't believe in this idea of forecasting.
No.
Nevertheless, this is a big industry. Do Do you think that makes sense, or is the
Well,
only way to work as an author in shaping?
No, I don't. I do believe in forecasting because it is there, you know. So how can you say
What
it's
do you
not
think about it?
existing? Huh? But it's not my job. I'm not good at it because I do it as an author. So I don't do it objective. I do it subjective. It's my taste. It's my opinion. Although I look very carefully what the company needs, what the different furniture groups need, how can I build knowledge upon colors, how can I see the color world, the industrial color world as colors that needs to breathe with light. How can you look in different light conditions, like are you often at home in the night, in the evening in your home, are you more in the mornings with your furniture? So, and also like horizontal surfaces, vertical surfaces, what happens with gloss. So in that sense I look at colors.
There's an interesting question that someone just sent us. Can you talk about the Vitra archive and what you found interesting in these archives? Can you mention a few things?
Well, what I find very interesting, that's a good topic, that if you look in the archive of Vitra, then you see a lot of furniture that would never pass the testing and the taste and the artistic approach nowadays, because then the market will be too small to produce an object like that, and everybody loves the outspoken bold colors or strange pieces of furniture that are not so very functional but kind of crazy. This very authentic furniture, that is a pity that the standards are now more limited.
So again, you're interested also in I wouldn't say the failures, but the things that did not pass the standard, right?
The more artistic, the more search within an object for certain new approaches, new paths, which also are often ridiculous or ugly or whatever. And it also resonates to time. You really see this is the 70s or the 60s, or this is a technique that was on that particular moment starting to exist. And this time measurements, this moments in time, that's something that I now miss in furniture. And that also gave it a lot of character. And in a way it is more corporate.
Yeah, and you also designed furniture for Vitra. I think the first one was the worker chair, and then you had the polder sofa. And I think that's interesting, the polder sofa in relation to what you just said, where, you know, on the one hand, to me, it's quite a classical sofa, beautiful upholstery, but then you have these buttons, besides the color, and the buttons are completely different from what you would expect. So suddenly you say, oh, this is not a normal industrial product anymore.
No.
There's a relation suddenly. It's something that, it's not a mistake, but it's an irregularity.
Yeah.
And so where does such an idea come from? I mean,
well, an idea like this comes out of my head, and it is often the case that I do something in the end of a process. Like if you do a sofa or a chair, whatever, you're so long with this object, and each time in the process, things are getting more efficient or more commercial, more interesting, and then all the blood goes out. And so often in the latest stage of design, I just do a twist to get some energy or to get some oxygen back in the object. And it's often something from another world or something unexpected that you to get the human touch again, to get this. And that's what I can call craft, although it's industrially made, and then it is yeah, it is the human aspect that interests me, and it's also again about relation. That then you relate to this object because hey, suddenly you get awake. Oh God, oh yeah. So yeah, I think it's I find that an important way of working. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But there's another interesting question I'm just reading from a listener mentioning the role of the hand is often mentioned within textiles. And is the trace of the hand important for the relation to the object versus machines and tools?
Yeah, very important. Very important. We make in the studio, we make all models, always models, and everything in paper first, also in textile, also the modules, everything is first done in paper. And then we start to put it in the computer. But in the hands is a knowledge that is that you don't know of, you know, like in the head, all the knowledge is in this circle. It always goes in this circle. You never get out. In the hands is the solution. And so that's also why I think we need our hands, smart hands, to find some solution that your head can't find it. It is really in the hands, and that's also why craft started out. You know, so this knowledge in the making and in the touching and in tactility. Yeah, I think it is. And then go to the head. So then analyze what you have done, put it in a computer, make it digital, start to make it ready for an industrial production or for technical approach to. And it can also, that's also digital computer or whatever, very technical. But the hands and yeah, it's super important. Yeah.
And that brings me to your own practice of work in your studio. How is the studio organized? You mentioned you work with models, but on the other hand, there's a lot of high tech involved. Can you describe a little bit how you work in your studio, how it looks, maybe?
It's a mess. There are models everywhere. And there are boxes and an archive. This is surreal, because I'm now also trying to after the show is open, I try to get rid of a lot of the stuff we did, because I cannot keep it all. And so there are many people, so there are 10 people or so working, and I always have different, so I've got some brains or some very mathematical, more geeks, people that are very good in hands, very aesthetic people, fashionable, so a whole group that is composed. And everybody is working on all the things. So you start on the Wednesday on a certain topic, and on next Monday you have another topic, and somebody else is further takes your topic. So it takes your model, or takes it further, or whatever. So it's really interwoven. Everybody is in all the work. And I think all those brains and heads and hands, that makes the work interesting and multi-layered. It's not only in my hands or in my head. Although I tell, it's my vision where we go, because you can get lost for a long time, but after 3 or 4 days, I come by and say, well, maybe this is a better route, or let's go this way. I find this more interesting than that. Let's go. So I am the author. I know what I want to achieve, and I recognize where the interesting new developments are happening, or the unknown path, because that's what I like, the unknown. Information that you feel the possibilities, but it's not yet there. Maybe we can go there. Well, anyway, that's my role. Yeah.
And how do you manage to distribute the time between working for clients or for commissions, but also doing free work, more artistic work?
Well, the last years I'm more working for cultural institutes, so no longer for industrial clients.
Not at all at the moment?
No. I have chosen to work, or it fits now much better. I can express myself more. I also think I have, if you talk about pushing boundaries or change something in the world, I think I can now have a louder voice on a cultural platform, so in a museum, because I have a total other relation with the visitor. I can have a critical note, search on topics I cannot do when I relate to a market. So, and this openness, this other way of looking, of communicating with visitors, not over somebody's purse, wallet, money, functionality, aesthetics, but over another, in another way. Also, people are more open in a museum, are open for knowledge, and I want to address the cultural meaning of certain objects, and you cannot do that if you work for an industrial client. And also, I think for me, I know it now so well, the industrial system, and the steps are small. For me now, I like to go. I like to go more in this other world, and the world of art, where I am also unknown and also uncertain, and that's very inspiring for me. I'm coming with new questions and new answers. I'm getting lost. I weave I weave paintings, and this really makes me also uncertain, but also very happy and inspired. So museums or universities, I think there is a place where we make big steps, also for later on for the industry. So
sounds like a very deliberate decision. To me, it also has something to do with the manifesto you made a few years ago, where you already stated that you think the design discipline is quite impoverished now. So was this something these are your words, I read it, or together with Louise Schellenberg. Is this a feeling that grew over years in you? And suddenly you had the impression, I have to make a cut?
Yeah, it grew over the years, and it was also, I also didn't cut from the one day or the other. So it grew over the years. And also the questions from museums started also to, I received more questions from museums to do shows, research shows. So it is, it grew that way, but it's also a decision that I don't see myself now working in the design industry. And I also think there are now, since 2015, this whole climate crisis and the sustainability. So there is a lot happening in the industry on the topic of materials, because all the materials have to be fossil free, and we really have to rethink all the materials and all the processes, and that's now all also on political level and geopolitical level. It's all we are all aware, and we need to change it. In that sense, I would say the topic is on the desk. I don't need to push it over there. I like to understand the cultural meaning of these objects and the relation that we have, and the toxic relation we have, and see, like, how can we stop the consumerism? Why do we want new? What is this? What is this attractiveness of shopping, and why? So other topics that I can't do in industry. So.
Would there be some kind of project or commission that would tempt you to do one thing in the design world again? Something you would say this would be a relevant commission as a designer to work on?
Oh yeah, there are many relevant commissions.
Yeah. So
it's not like the door is closed. It's more I'm now in this field of art, but interests me a lot. So and it is also I don't need to do so. If the questions or the answers I'm raising or the research I'm doing, others can also push this forward in industry. It's not that I'm the only one. So. So no, I'm now very happy to develop and to get new answers on the questions that I always had and have and come with new questions. So I'm very happy in the field of art right now.
Another thing that comes to my mind, which was also an incision in your work, was the move to Berlin. No, I think in 2008 and 2009 you moved from Rotterdam to Berlin. What did you miss, or what did you look for in Berlin? Why did you want to have this change?
I wanted to be a beginner again and alone again. So I wanted to, I was in a very comfortable situation in Holland. So design, Dutch design, droog design. It was a huge family. It is in our culture, in our DNA. So I was part of a huge machine industry. And I wanted to be alone again. I want to focus on what I found important and also find myself in another culture. Who am I if I'm not in my own culture? In a culture where design is totally different. So that's why I wanted to move. So to get awake again.
And on the other hand, you say you still think about design. I mean, even though you have stopped working on commissions, you make an exhibition that has a lot to do with design, with power of object, with the meaning of objects, with technologies.
Of course.
I mean, how do you think that relation of this cultural system and the system of industry is working today? Do you think the industry is adopting these influences? Other designers may see your show and then also bring that into projects. How do you see this mechanism of the design world?
Yeah, that could be the case. I would be very grateful if this happens, because then it resonates. It has a relevance if people are resonating and people are following it or take it along. So I don't see it as a big difference like art and design. So I have a huge bag of knowledge from the design world, knowledge on materials, knowledge on processes. I now step into the art world on cultural podia and express myself different. But it's always in relation in where I come from and also in relation what I see needs to be changed in the systems in our relations with objects in social and economic changes, political changes, cultural relevance. So it's one. I'm one.
I mean, coming back to the topic of weaving in the exhibition, to me it also seems to be one of the most global languages, the language of weaving, compared to, let's say, furniture typologies are often related to or limited to certain cultures. Why I think there's, every culture in the world gives weaving an important role. Did you also think about these cultural connotations that weaving is, it's not just a Western practice, it's a global practice, really global.
Yeah. And the symbolic, the symbols that are woven, the religious way of using textiles. It's indeed a technique that is so deeply rooted in our culture. That's why it is a cultural technique and craft that we now give away to a fast fashion industry. Come on, we're losing our culture. That's what we're losing, and that's why I think we need to address it and not give it away to the market, and keep the richness. And also, you know, like it's now all had to happen. A lot of not only mills and so on are disappearing, but also skills and different constructions we are losing it, because it's all printed in fast fashion. Everything is printed. Nothing is more in decorations are not done in different constructions. So we're just losing our culture. That's why we need to address it, and that's why I place it in the spotlights and celebrate it and hope vibrant visitors or the industry or whatever with this topic. Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful invitation for every listener to go and see the exhibition. I can really recommend it. It's really impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's you walk into whole worlds, no, that you created. You walk below textiles and you can interact, you can spin yourself. So,
and I did angry animal faces. I gave animals a voice.
Yeah.
So I made animals that are really angry because they are objectified in the world. They are not equal with humans, plants, and objects. And so I really made very angry animals, half animal, half face. So there is much more. It's not only textiles. So, you know, even if you're not into textiles, I think I touch many other topics. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hella, for the talk and for the exhibition and for many other work we spoke about. It was a pleasure to have you as a guest.
Thank you so much.